the dawn's early light, what so boldly we hailed at a twilight's last gleaming, whose broadsides and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streaming, and the rugged red glare the hopes were singing there gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, Satan's and star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the brave and the home of the brave.
Emily, that was absolutely fabulous. Unbelievable. Thank you very much. Okay, today, as you know, today's Veterans Day. Veterans Day is one of 4 holidays, federal holidays, that are not celebrated on a Monday. The reason is because after the First World War, the armistice was signed on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. Veterans in that war were absolutely adamant that it not be any other day. Okay. Patriotic songs will now be performed by the Southampton High School Choir under the direction of Jim Tartaglia.
Strong.
distant shores across the sea.
We built a mighty country in liberty and sleep. Now we live in the land of the free. Let freedom ring for America, our country great and strong. United as one we shall stand. And to our nation of liberty we sing this song. Let freedom ring throughout the land. And one,
All have found new lights along the way.
we are all Americans who seek a brighter morn as we live for our dreams every day. Let freedom ring for America, our country great and strong. United as one we shall stand. And to our nation of liberty we sing this song. Let freedom ring throughout the land. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, forever waves of grain. Your purple mountain majesties, above the mountain plain. America, America, God share His grace on thee. And crown thy good and brotherhood from sea to shining sea. All bring forward our country great and strong. United as one we shall stand. And to our nation of liberty we sing this song. Let freedom ring throughout the
Our guest speaker is Tim Hendrickson. He's an Iraqi war veteran, having served 2 deployments as a tank commander. He's been awarded numerous medals and has served in military intelligence as well. Mr. Hendrickson also is an author and now works in private security. Please welcome Tim Hendrickson.
Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Tom, for that introduction. I'm very grateful to be here today. I'm grateful for the invitation. I'm grateful to see everybody out to support our veterans and show their recognition of them and their contributions to this great country. I'm very grateful that it's such a beautiful day out here. I was a little worried last night when the rain was hitting the roof, but this is a fantastic day. For once, we don't have a 75 degree day in November, so this is fantastic. But most importantly, I am grateful for the opportunity to share some of the experience that I've had with both my service and my time reintegrating into civilian life after that service. So I come from a long line of military service in my family. Both grandfathers served in World War II. My grandmother actually is, or was, the highest ranking officer in the family before myself. She served as an Army nurse here stateside in one of our hospitals for returning wounded. My uncle was a door gunner in a Huey in Vietnam. My father is, out of the whole family of Army, my father is the only Marine, and in true Marine fashion, he told us all that we were wrong and he was right. So, happy birthday to you Marines out there yesterday, by the way. Out of my 3 brothers, or my 4 brothers, I was the one who felt the call to service out of our family, and it became my life goal to do so. And I geared everything towards that: athletics, academics, extracurriculars, and as such was awarded a scholarship to Hofstra to attend ROTC there with their Army program. In 2003, I was commissioned as a second lieutenant, and then I went into active duty first at Fort Knox, Kentucky, and then later on in my career, I switched over to intelligence at Fort Huachuca, Arizona. I deployed twice in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom, once in 2004 to 2005, and then again in 07 to 08. And while I'm very proud of my service, that service can and does come with a price. And combat, especially in today's day and age, is a harrowing experience. I don't take away combat from any generation, of course, but in the modern day, we coined the term asymmetrical warfare, essentially meaning there are no front lines. You don't get pulled back for rest and recuperation. You're embedded with your enemy constantly. We could be out in the streets passing out frozen chickens so people had something to eat, and within the blink of an eye in the middle of an ambush because the insurgency is blended into the population. Your enemy could literally be smiling to your face, spitting on your back, and then shooting at you later on that night. When you go back to the safety of your base, there really is no safety because now you're subject to indirect fire in terms of artillery and mortars. So this all combines to essentially give you a feeling of fear and hypervigilance for an extended period of time. You never get that reprieve, you never get that feeling of safety. And in the Army, we deployed for a year. So you can imagine experiencing that for 365 days straight through. And you can imagine the amazing relief you feel when you come home. But in an all-volunteer military, there aren't enough bodies to go around. And so what we found in this modern warfare is returning to those deployments over and over again. I was fortunate enough that I only served 2 deployments to Iraq, but some of my friends who chose to make the military career, they served 7, 8 deployments over the course of our 20 years in Iraq and Afghanistan. So you can imagine never feeling safe every other year for a 10 or 12-year period, what that does to the human mind, what it does to your conditions. And then you come into the issues of reintegration when you get out of the service and you suddenly are faced with things that you really didn't expect before because the military kind of takes care of everything for you. You don't have to call up cable and get them to, hook up your service. It's just all there. And suddenly everything's on you. You have to find a job. You have to provide for a family. You have to buy diapers. Diapers are really expensive. For myself, the reintegration process became particularly troubling. I got out in April of 2008, and just 6 months later, the housing bubble burst, and we went into that recession in 2008. I was the last man in to the company that I had signed on with, so then I was the first man out when the layoffs started. I had just moved my newlywed pregnant wife into an apartment up in Buffalo, New York. And 6 days after signing a 1-year lease, I was handed my pink slip and said that the company is folding and had to basically come back down to Long Island to where a support structure was in place. So when you compound that with the issues of post-traumatic stress disorder, the issues of that hypervigilance and that fear that you never got over, and now suddenly on the civilian side, you're questioning your life, your purpose. If I'm not a captain in the military, what am I? I can't even hold a job as a security guard. I can't afford diapers for my newborn baby. who am I, what am I? And this takes an even greater toll. You have a loss of self, of your purpose, your feeling of failure. You start to have suicidal ideology. For me personally, I experienced very vivid and horrible nightmares, violent mood swings, all things that needed to be covered up, unfortunately, and I'm ashamed to say, through the negative coping mechanism of relying on alcohol. I was in and out of therapy for several years. Thankfully, had enough of a family support network to push me into that venue, but it was never really enough. As many of my fellow veterans know, we have a term in the military, especially the infantry types. It's called putting a Band-Aid on a sucking chest wound. It sounds about as effective as it is, right? There's much more that needs to be done in that situation, and I was not doing that. I was just treating the symptoms, not the disease. COVID, I hit my absolute worst point and became suicidal, and had thankfully the presence of mind and family to get me into an intense treatment program where I really addressed the source of my PTSD. And it was during that time, that revelation came to me that PTSD in both its physiological and its psychological forms are still inherent to me. They're part of my body. They're part of my mind. And therefore, ultimately, I have the ability to control that. The great Viktor Frankl, the Holocaust survivor from Auschwitz, in his book, Man's Search for Meaning, after he survived, he said, "Forces beyond your control can take away everything you possess except one thing, your freedom to choose how you will respond to the situation." So at that point, when I was hospitalized, suicidal, medicated, in intense therapy, with a goal trying to get back to my family, trying to get back to my children, I resolved that the things that I carried would no longer have power over me. I would have power over them. This was a turning point in my life, an important lesson learned, one that I'm grateful for and that I know many veterans out there have not experienced yet. So I knew that just for myself, this was not enough. I had to go farther. I had to go beyond just my self-realization. And I decided not only would those things that I carry not have power over me any longer, but that I was going to flip the script on my PTSD. I was going to take everything I experienced in such a negative fashion and turn it into purpose for good. And to get out there and say, if I had to slog through all of this, if I had to go through it, then I'm going to use it to advocate and articulate that you, whether you're a veteran or not, do not have to go through the same. You do not have to suffer in silence. You can be an advocate for yourself. You can seek treatment for your mental health. You can know that you're not alone. And that became my opportunity to take my demons and wrestle them into submission. I became very fortunate in that right around this time, as I was making those decisions, the first of my novels was published. Writing has always been a very cathartic practice for me, and I put a lot of my experiences into those books, but I also realized that now I was suddenly being asked to do podcasts and interviews, speaking events, book signings, and so I felt that I had a duty to use that platform to, again, advocate, to spread the word, to not keep those sentiments internal. It would be remiss of me not to share that messaging with those who might be experiencing those dark times and suffering in the shadows and not knowing where to turn to. And so I said, if I can at least speak and help maybe one person realize, hey, if that guy could do it, maybe I can do it as well. Maybe I can put down the rocks glass and go to get treatment or go talk to my priest or a counselor or something like that. Then I had a duty to do so. And so my message is this. I've called this navigating the minefield. I'm going to harken back to my tank days a little bit here, but whenever you are in military operations and you come across a minefield, especially if the operation is continuing, you can't wait for the engineers to clear the entire field. It takes too long. So what happens is we clear a corridor through it so that all the vehicles can pass and continue on with the mission. And then the engineers come in behind you and clear the rest. So my message is, don't navigate the minefield on your own. People such as myself, as other veterans, as mental health professionals, they've already come before and cleared that corridor. They've already opened it up. You don't need to do this alone. You don't need to walk through and step on the landmines that I did. You don't have to come to the point where you're losing your marriage or the relationship with your children. You can quite literally take control of yourself, take control of your mind and your body, take purpose in all the negative that you experience, and flip that script in order to help not only yourself, but your fellow veterans or anyone who might be experiencing trauma in this world. So, in closing, because I'm rambling now, I want to thank Mayor Bill Manger, the village trustees, Roy Stevenson, Ed Simeone, Robin Brown, and Len Zanatti. I'm sorry if I butchered your names. Anyone else that I have not recognized, thank you again for the opportunity. To my fellow veterans on the Veterans Committee, Bob Grisnick, Mark Epley, Tom Gouldy, thank you all so much. This has been a wonderful opportunity and a wonderful privilege to continue to further advocate on the message that I've experienced and the message that I wish to move forward. And again, just leave you with the final sentiment. We as a country, I still have to believe that at a base level, our strength comes from neighbor helping neighbor. So whether it is yourself, whether it is a relative, a friend, or just a random stranger, we can find purpose in overcoming these obstacles when we help one another. And so let us leave here today looking to do just that, whether for ourselves or for our family or for complete strangers. Let us extend that help. Let's talk about the stigma. Let's abolish it and ensure that everybody who needs the proper care receives that. Thank you all so much for coming. Thank you for listening to me. God bless you all, and God bless America.
Thank you so much, Tim. That's incredible. I remember not that long ago, I was at a graduation, and there was a man in uniform who'd been in Iraq. And I told him I was a Vietnam veteran. And he says, "You all had it worse." I said, "I never for once thought that anybody in Iraq or Afghanistan had it easy. I know what it's like, that the saying was in Vietnam that you didn't know who the enemy was very similar in this respect. And the saying was that some kid will throw you the peace sign with one hand and throw a grenade with the other. So that was to tell you, you really didn't know who was going to do what, and I'm sure you understand that. Thank you for being so vulnerable and giving that speech really from the heart. That was very incredible. Thank you so much. The concert band from Southampton High School under the direction of Brianna Novotny.
Thank you very much, Tom, and good morning on this beautiful Southampton morning. Ladies and gentlemen, honored guests, and fellow patriots. On this occasion of Veterans Day, I wanted to follow on what Tom Gooley was saying, and I would give you a brief history of this solemn day. As Tom said, World War I ended with an armistice in a railroad car in France at the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month in 1918. The following year, on November 11, 1919, President Woodrow Wilson issued a message to his fellow countrymen on the first Armistice Day, in which he expressed what he felt the day meant to Americans. His message began with the following lines, and I quote, "A year ago today, our enemies laid down their arms in accordance with an armistice which rendered them impotent to renew hostilities, and gave to the world an assured opportunity to reconstruct its shattered order and to work out in peace a new and more just set of international relations. The soldiers and people of the European allies had fought and endured for more than 4 years to uphold the barrier of civilization against the aggression of armed force. We ourselves had been in the conflict something more than a year and a half. With splendid forgetfulness of mere personal concerns, we remodeled our industries, concentrated our financial resources, increased our agricultural output, and assembled a great army, so that at the last our power was a decisive factor in the victory. We were able to bring the vast resources, material, and morale of a great and free people to the assistance of our associates in Europe who had suffered and sacrificed without limit in the cause for which we fought. In 1921, the first unknown soldier was buried at Arlington National Cemetery on Armistice Day. And on the eve of World War II, and just after the hurricane of 1938 tore across Long Island, on November 11th was officially recognized as a legal holiday by Congress. As they stated, a day to be dedicated to the cause of world peace and to be thereafter celebrated and known as Armistice Day. At the conclusion of World War II in 1945, veteran Raymond Weeks of Birmingham, Alabama, had the idea to expand Armistice Day to celebrate all veterans. He went along with a delegation to General Dwight Eisenhower, who supported the idea of a National Veterans Day. But it was several years before Mr. Weeks' idea became a reality. After the Korean War in 1954, then President Dwight Eisenhower signed a bill into law officially creating Veterans Day. In 1982, President Ronald Reagan awarded Raymond Weeks the Presidential Citizenship Medal, recognizing him as the father of Veterans Day. While November 11th falls on a Monday this year, Congress in the early 1970s wanted Veterans Day to always be observed on a Monday to allow for a long weekend. Congress moved Veterans Day to the fourth Monday in October for 7 years, but due to confusion and harsh criticism, President Gerald Ford moved the holiday back to where it remains today, November 11th. So on behalf of the residents of Southampton, I extend a sincere debt of gratitude to all veterans for all you have done for us that we may enjoy freedom. May God bless our veterans, Southampton, and the United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Mayor. In recognition of veterans who have recently passed, Bill Edgar, United States Army, Bill Petty, United States Navy, Benjamin Halsey Conklin, United States Air Force, and Anton Bub Hugel, United States Army. Is there anyone else that we have not named here that has passed away in the last year? Okay. Peter Nicolage is not able to be here today. Emily Pakisasi will sing America the Beautiful.
He was very quiet. So crazy.
Oh, beautiful for pilgrim feet whose stern impassioned stress a thoroughfare for freedom beat across the wilderness. America, America, God bend thine every flaw. Confirm thy soul in self-control, thy liberty in law. Oh, beautiful for patriot dream that sees beyond the years. Thine alabaster cities gleam, undimmed by human tears. America, America, God shed His grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. America, America,
asked to bestow a benediction. The meaning of benediction, to offer to others the highest depth of gratitude, is really something that comes from within each of us. So please join me today as from the depths of our own hearts, we extend our blessing and gratitude for all of our veterans, all those who have served our nation in defending our freedoms and protecting the very freedoms we cherish for our own good and the good of all who share this earth with us. Let us bless and commit ourselves today to the acknowledging the bravery of those who have given their lives. May they have now eternal rest. And may, in the light of Captain's Tim talk today, we may recommit ourselves to blessing and protecting and healing those who suffer because of the cost of the battles fought. Let us bless today out of ourselves those who continue at this very moment around the world to serve in so many ways, in so many places, in places where peace is kept, in places where they bear the risks of war. May the Lord's face watch over them. For all those that we acknowledge today, may we extend to them our gratitude. May our God bless our veterans today, our United States of America, the freedoms we protect and cherish for our own good and the good of others. For this we ask this blessing through our Almighty Father, Son, and Spirit, now and forever. Amen.
Thank you so much, Father. This concludes today's ceremony. Thank you for being here and honoring our veterans. Refreshments will be served in the Veterans Hall. All are welcome. And thank you again.
You're dismissed.
Yeah.